Hi guys, and welcome to Escape with Watch Reviews. My name is Steve, and today we're going to be reviewing the WM watch model number WM057. I received this watch for free. I don't have to send the watch back, but no matter how I get a watch in on this channel, you'll get my full and honest review every single time. And if by the end of this review you want to pick one of these up, I'll be leaving a link down in the video description that takes you to the Welly Mark official store on AliExpress. That is going to be an affiliate link, so you guys don't pay any extra. I'll just earn a little bit of commission that helps keep things running. The retail price for this watch is around 110 US dollars. That's before any taxes, customs, VAT, etc. These are absolutely going to be on sale during the 11/11 sale. Currently we're in or at least coming up on a choice day sale, and it's showing at just under 85 US dollars. So yeah, prices can be slashed on that, and they're pretty much always on sale. The watch comes in 3 different colorways that you can see here on screen. They also have this with a metal bracelet or a leather strap. You do have the gold case as well if you're into that too. So yeah, I think you can save $5 with the leather strap, but I would just get the metal bracelet. The watch case is made of 316L stainless steel, has a sapphire crystal, a push-pull crown, screw-down case back, 100 meters of claimed water resistance, and the watch is powered by the Miyota 8215 automatic movement. So a dual crown compressor style Worldtimer seems like an unusual combination. I'm typically not a fan of Worldtime watches, but I have to say this is one of the better looking ones, especially in this price range. Sub $100 gets you a lot these days, but we know that they're not going to be perfect. They're going to cut some corners, so let's get into the full review. But before we do, doing a quick wrist check today, wearing my Fairsuit 4130 chronograph. Absolutely stunning. This is on a cut to size FKM, which you'll actually see later in this video. But yeah, go check out the review for that right up there. Now let's get into dimensions. We got a case diameter of 41 millimeters, case thickness of 12.1 millimeters, got 20 millimeter lug width, lug tip to lug tip of 49.1, a total length of 53.5 millimeters, and sized up for my 7.5 inch wrist with 3 links removed. It weighs 145 grams. So the watch is pretty big. It's 41 millimeters and it's all dial, a huge crystal, thin bezel, but I don't feel like it wears any bigger than a 41. I think it actually wears pretty good. It does have some pretty nice turn down to the case, as you can see there, and it's overall pretty slim. So yeah, I think it does wear pretty good. That 53.5 or whatever it was for the total length, it's going to be a problem for some people. It's a pretty, like I said, it's a pretty big watch, but I still think it wears pretty good on me. So yeah, I'm going to go outside right now and throw it on my wrist for you. And here we are on my 7.5 inch wrist, and I think the size is just about right for me. I like a watch of this size. It's not too thick either. Yeah, I think it just looks good. It wears actually pretty comfortable on this bracelet. I was able to get a decent fitment. It's a lot of crystal. There's no anti-reflective coating that I can see on it, so that's kind of a little bit of an issue, especially since this isn't the most legible watch to begin with. But I do think it looks pretty good with all those polished aspects. Here we are with a little bit of sun. You can see, hopefully, there's a little bit of a sunburst dial to it underneath the world there. So it does look pretty good. Again, it gets washed out pretty badly in direct sunlight, but besides that, I mean, it's just not a super legible watch to begin with, and I think the bracelet looks pretty good on it though. But I think we can do better, so let's go inside, let's throw down some straps. And here we are on a kind of a tropic style FKM cut to size strap. Again, absolutely loving these straps. I think that looks really good though. Looks sporty, goes with the dial nicely. What do you guys think? Here we are on a Vario vintage leather. The tan and the blue, I think looks pretty good. A little more dressy option for you, I guess. What do you guys think? And lastly, I figured I'd throw it on this mesh bracelet. This is off of a old Pagani, but I think it actually looks pretty good. Just in case you don't like the stock bracelet and want to throw it on another bracelet, there's an option for you. All right, let's go back inside and let's get back to this review. Okay, so let's talk about the case finishing. So the case is a mixture of brushed and polished surfaces. You can see here the thin bezel. It's a rounded bezel, so it's not a simple slope bezel. It's a nice rounded bezel, so it does play with the light nicely. You can see there. it seems to be polished to a pretty high standard. I've got no complaints with that. You have vertical brushing on the top of the lugs there, which matches with the bracelet. You have horizontal brushing on the case sides there, and then you have a nice polished chamfer that are separating those two. And the transition is actually pretty darn sharp. So I'm overall very happy with the case on this thing. The case finishing, pretty high quality, and it's very soft. That's something I noticed right out of the box, is that it's very soft. This big chamfer that runs along the lugs there, it wraps all the way around the lug tip and then comes back around on the bottom side there. So this bottom edge here is not harsh on the wrist at all. It's just a very comfortable watch. Flipping it to the crown side here, you have a push-pull crown, 6.3 millimeters for both of those. This one is signed with the WM watch branding. This one here has no decoration on it at all. I'd like to see some like crosshatch or something on that, just something to dress it up just a little bit. But really can't complain at this price point. The crowns are good size. They function good. We'll talk about those here in a little bit. Flipping the watch over to the case back here, screw down case back, simple notches to get a tool in there. You got a little spec sheet around the outside. I'm assuming that is mineral glass. I'll put it up here if it is. But yeah, I think the finishing back here is nice. Everything is rounded off. It's nothing fancy, but yeah, it's nicely done. I've got no real complaints with the case on this thing. They did a pretty darn good job. I would like to see a screw down crown. That was kind of odd for me, but really it's not that big of a deal. All right, so let's talk about the world time function and the bezel. The bezel is not your typical, dive watch style bezel like you normally find in a compressor case. I'm hoping they come out with a compressor style watch in this case, because that would be pretty cool. But this is what we have in this model here. So it's a world time watch. So you have all your cities here on the inside, and then you have a rotating 24-hour-ish bezel. You can see it's plus or minus depending on where you are. So the way that this thing works, so we're saying it's about 10:17 here. So I line up the 0 with my time zone. So I'm in the New York time zone. So right there, and then you can go around. So if you want to know what it is in Sydney, it's minus 6 hours. So you'd subtract 6 hours from that. So that's how you use this style of bezel. It's not the most convenient, but yeah, it does work. And there are times where, like I can show you here, Los Angeles is not 3 hours behind me, it's 4 hours behind me. So there's times where it doesn't work. So yeah, just something that you got to keep note of. I just don't know how functional this bezel is going to be for you guys. So I typically prefer just a normal GMT hand to a world time. But yeah, that's just me. But I think the bezel actually functions pretty good. The resistance is good. I haven't really knocked it out of place. It's nice and smooth. There's no clicks to it or anything like that. It just feels good. So yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy with the bezel as long as you know what you're getting. All right, let's talk about the crystal. First things first, we'll test it for sapphire. It is positive for sapphire. So we have a flat piece of sapphire on the front, mineral crystal on the back, like you saw earlier. Yeah, I'm not really sure what to tell you about it. It's a very simple crystal. It looks fine. I've got no real issues with it. There's no anti-reflective coating, but I've always said flat sapphires don't really need AR coating. Rolex doesn't use it on their watches, so why would anyone else need to use it on theirs? Yeah, I do wish it had some AR coating. Obviously, AR coating would be beneficial for this watch because it's not the most legible watch to begin with. But yeah, I think the fact that it doesn't have AR coating it's not a deal breaker. All right, so let's talk about the dial. So I think the dial is actually pretty cool. I'm not a huge fan of these very busy dials, but this one I think is done pretty well. It's not the most legible, like I keep on mentioning, but I mean, I think it does look pretty good. So you have applied indices at all the hour markers. They're nicely done. They're all the same size, and they kind of catch the light and sparkle a little bit. But yeah, they're nicely done. The handset that they chose, huge, just big and bold. It reaches way out past the minute track there. I don't know if that was on purpose or not, but yeah, I think the handset that they chose looks really good. Getting up real close, there is a little tiny sliver right down the middle of brushing. I believe it's brushing. It just catches the light just a little bit. But the handset, I think, is done pretty good. Faceted, as you can see there, and polished nicely. You have a red tip to the second hand sweeping along there. I think it all looks pretty good. You have your date window there at the 3 o'clock position, which does have a framed date window as well. The WM or Wellingmark branding that you see here, they're ditching the Welly mark. They're just going WM watch. So yours won't say the Welly mark on the dial there, but it does say Worldtimer and automatic. The printing on it is done pretty nice, pretty high quality. I think it looks pretty darn good. The Lume on the watch. The Lume is actually kind of impressive, but kind of not at the same time. I'm going to pop up a Lume shot here. You can see it against a couple other watches in the collection. It blows away the other Welly mark, but doesn't quite hang on with the Willard there on the left. It's decent Lume. It's kind of a party trick, and it does look pretty cool for a few minutes, but then it does fade pretty quickly. So it's not totally usable either. So I wouldn't count on the Lume for this watch. So let's talk about the movement inside. So the movement is the Miyota 8215 automatic movement. It's not my favorite movement, but these movements, they've been around forever. They're super reliable. They're accurate enough. Here's how this one has been running. Sorry, I didn't get a screenshot. My phone was acting up, so I had to do it on this one. Negative 11 seconds a day. I'd like to see it a little bit better than that. I like my watches to run fast rather than slow, but that's still, I think, acceptable for a watch like this, and it's well within the Miyota tolerances. But the movement itself, 21,600 beats per hour, so 6 ticks of the second hand. This one does hack, so this is a newer version of the Miyota. It does hand wind. The hand winding is nice, and it does have a quick set date there. So yeah, there's not a whole lot to complain about with the Miyota. The only thing that I don't really like about this, the older ones, they didn't hack, so that was an issue, but they've obviously fixed that one. And then the single directional winding rotor. When you're wearing this watch, you can get that rotor spinning around like that. You can kind of hear it, you can kind of feel it. So yeah, it's not my favorite feeling, but I know some people actually like that. You do get to check out the movement through the back. It's not the most pretty movement or anything like that, but it is there if you like that kind of stuff. So yeah, I mean, the whole movement and crown section is fine. I've got no major complaints on it, but it's obviously could be a lot better with the NH35. So that's just my thoughts on it. All right, so let's talk about the bracelet. So the bracelet is 20 millimeters. It tapers down to 18 millimeters at a butterfly clasp. We'll talk about that in just a second. The finishing on the bracelet itself, it's actually not too bad. You got vertical brushing on those outer links and the middle link, and then polished ones flanking that middle link. It's all done to an acceptable standard for this price. It's nothing that's going to blow you away or anything like that, but it's nicely done. You have push pins for sizing. The fluidity of the bracelet is actually pretty good. It's not a hair puller or anything like that. The tolerances, they're okay. There's a little bit of jangle and some rattle with it, but it does feel like a pretty solid bracelet. My main complaint with this is on the end links. So first off, we have male end links. They protrude out quite a bit. That's going to be a deal breaker for people with smaller wrists. But the finishing on the end links, you can look here, you can see just how inconsistent it is. You can see there's kind of a brushing that goes this, kind of angular a little bit. It just doesn't flow with the nice case finishing. So yeah, and that's something that I noticed right away. It does not look very good at all. The polishing looks fine, and the actual, tolerances on this, there's a little bit of wiggle room in there, but it's not too bad. It doesn't rattle on the wrist or anything like that, but just inconsistent brushing, and it's on both of them. It just doesn't look very good. It doesn't match the case. The case is nicely finished. That bracelet end link is not very nicely finished. They need to focus on that a little bit more. I'm hoping this one is just an outlier. I do have this same bracelet on another watch that doesn't have that issue, so yeah, it's just something to consider. But yeah, I think the tolerances in here in the spring bar area, they're a little bit loose. It's got pretty decent quality spring bars, but I had some trouble getting it into the case. So yeah, that's just something to consider. If you do take this bracelet off, you're going to have to fight with it just a little bit to get it back on. My other issue is obviously the butterfly clasp. You guys know I don't like these things. It's a fully milled butterfly clasp. The tolerances in here are not great. It is a butterfly clasp where you can snap either side on. It's not a very satisfying click, so it's very quiet, but I haven't had it come undone on me or anything like that. The clasp itself seems fine. It's kind of standard affair. It's not overly sharp or anything like that. It's not branded either, but you just get no micro adjust. They don't give you half links either, so the sizing is going to be hit or miss. I'm wearing this one just a little bit loose. Yeah, that's just what you get with a butterfly clasp. I wish they would just get rid of these things. They say they look nice, which they do, but I'd rather have the convenience of a normal clasp, in my opinion. So yeah, the bracelet overall, it's okay, about what I expected for a watch like this. I just wish they would clean up the brushing there, and then get a normal clasp, and then it'll be fine. So there you go, guys. That is the Mark WM057, a Worldtimer for under $100. Pretty cool case, in my opinion. The case finishing is pretty nice. Again, decent lume on it as well. The design, I think, is really nice, though. Even the bracelet is pretty cool. So yeah, I think if you're in the market for a Worldtime watch, this should be on your radar. It's a little bit bigger than some of the other ones that I've seen, so you know, that's going to appeal to a certain audience. But yeah, I do think overall it's not a bad watch at all. It's not a bad watch. The case finishing is the most impressive part of it. The lume is a party trick, I think, but yeah, you get a reliable movement in the back, and sapphire crystal, and a solid bracelet for under $100. There's not a whole lot that you can complain about, in my opinion. So, all right, I think that's it for me. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. See ya.